Welcome to another episode of ASAP Geo, the show that gives geography a stunning visual representation. In this episode, we will be talking about an ecozone down in southern Canada, the Mixwood Plains. More specifically, we will take a look at the general characteristics of the Mixwood Plains and two well-known cities located in this ecozone, Toronto and Quebec City. We will describe both their similarities and differences in terms of their population, soil, vegetation, landforms, climate, tourism, and human activities. You'll soon see that even though these cities are only 805.3 kilometers apart, they are almost worlds apart in terms of their differences.
The Mixwood Plains is one of Canada's 15 unique ecozones, covering some of the most populated places in the country. It covers all of southwestern Ontario and certain parts of central and northeastern Ontario. The Mixwood Plains contains some of Canada's most productive and fertile soils, which are perfect for agriculture. It has a nice climate and is home to many tourist attractions, including the famous CN Tower. Even though it is one of the smaller ecozones, the Mixwood Plains is home to about half of Canada's population, and is therefore the most populated ecozone in the country. It has a total population of about 12 million people. Its cool winters average from about temperatures such as -5 degrees Celsius to -15 degrees Celsius, and warm summers average from about temperatures such as 17 degrees Celsius to sometimes even 28 degrees Celsius. The Mixwood Plains has a variety of animals and plants as well, such as black bears, deers, and sugar maple.
Let's start off with some general information about the two cities, Toronto and Quebec City. Toronto, a major Canadian city in the province of Ontario, is a developed and populated city with many towering modern skyscrapers. The city has many green spaces, including parks and trails, but also contains many restaurants and shops in a downtown area. It is often called the most diverse city in the world due to its many languages, arts, foods, and multiculturalism. On the other hand, Quebec City is located in the province of Quebec. The city contains many old buildings like churches and schools, giving the place a more rustic feel than Toronto. Quebec City has a variety of different restaurants and shops. Overall, there's a great presence of rich history throughout the city, as there are many landmarks dedicated to famous French explorers like Samuel de Champlain and Jacques Cartier, who sort of founded the city.
Now we're going to compare some statistics of the two cities in this ecozone. Toronto has an area of 630.2 kilometers squared and is the largest city in Canada, boasting a population of over 4.7 million people. It is 76 meters above sea level and is located in the southern part of Ontario. The average annual precipitation of Toronto is just under 800 millimeters. On the other hand, Quebec City has an area of 484.1 kilometers squared and has a population of just under 550,000 and is 98 meters above sea level.
Now, let's talk about the climate of the two cities. Toronto's climate is a semi-continental climate with a warm, humid, and long summers as well as harsh, cold winters. Toronto is bordered on the south by Lake Ontario, which modifies the climate of the city, if you recall, lower near water. Meanwhile, summer in Quebec City can be very warm and humid with average temperatures of around 25 degrees Celsius. It does feel a lot warmer most of the time due to high humidity present in the air. Winters in Quebec City, on the other hand, are extremely frigid. Average high temperatures in December and January frequently reach to about -6 to -12 degrees Celsius, and snowfall is very common. Quebec City is also one of the most snow-rich cities in Canada. So if you like snow, Quebec City is definitely the place to be. Quebec City's autumn and spring are quite mild and of relatively short duration, usually about 2 months.
Toronto's soil is a mixture of Luvasolic soil and Brunasolic soil. Brunasolic soils are more coarse, and because of this, Brunasolic soils are not suitable for agriculture and farming. In fact, this type of soil is mostly used in forestry and for recreational use. On the other hand, grayish-brown Luvasolic soils are used further down in the south to grow agricultural crops like tobacco. Luvasolic soils usually develop beneath forest vegetation from glacial deposits. And although the soil in this region is partially leached, it is still suitable for farming.
Quebec City soil mainly consists of podzolic soils, which are forested soils that develop in temperate to cold moist climates. It is an organic mat over a gray-leached layer, commonly found on sandy deposits in ecozones where the annual precipitation is above 700 millimeters, which is true for Quebec City, as the average annual precipitation is about 1200 millimeters. The Mixed Plains has a variety of lush vegetation. In southern Ontario, there are about 80 different tree species that grow naturally. In the drier environments of the southern deciduous forest, black, red, and white oak are commonly found, while shagbark hickory, hop hornbeam, beech, red maple, and white pine are also quite common. If left undisturbed, the trees in these forests grow to great size, about 40 meters tall, and great age, about 500 years old. A large portion of Quebec City's vegetation consists of mixedwood forest. In these regions, there are many types of plants and shrubs present. Because of this, there is a large supply of resources like wood and water. Quebec City is also located along the shoreline of the St. Lawrence River. Soil present in these areas are moist because they are close to a water source, making them great for agricultural use.
Toronto's bustling city centre is located 35 miles east of Niagara Escarpment. Other notable landforms by Toronto include the Oak Ridges Moraine, which rises 820 feet above lake level and helps to provide water for about 200,000 people in Toronto. A number of creeks and smaller streams that originated from the Oak Ridges Moraine come together to form the Rogue River, which flows through the Rogue River Valley, which rises over 100 feet tall and has walls made of sand, silt, and clay.
There are many different types of landforms that can be found in Quebec City. Quebec City is actually located on a cape named Cap Diamond. This cape is actually part of a larger plateau named the Promontory of Quebec. One landform that can be found in the city is the Montmorency Falls. This large waterfall is located northeast of the city and is actually 1.5 times higher than Niagara Falls, which, as you know, is located near Toronto. The water from this waterfall flows from the top of the falls to the St. Lawrence River, located at the bottom. There are actually a number of rivers and lakes that are located in Quebec City. In French, Quebec really means where the river narrows. Some of these rivers and lakes include the St. Charles River, Lake St. Charles, and obviously the St. Lawrence River. There are a lot of famous attractions in both Toronto and in Quebec City. In Toronto, the CN Tower is one of the largest and most visited tourist attractions in the city, bringing in approximately 1.5 million visitors each year. It is located in the heart of downtown Toronto, which is a popular place for tourists to visit due to the amount of stores and restaurants in that area. Niagara Falls is also another attraction that is very popular in Toronto. It is estimated that 30 million people visit the site each year, although it is not clear what portion of this number represents the visitors from the Canadian side of the falls and the American side of the falls. Beside national landmarks, Toronto is also home to many different professional sports teams, including the Toronto Maple Leafs, the Toronto Blue Jays, and the Toronto Raptors. These many attractions are clearly visited by many tourists around the world, which greatly contributes to the economy of the city overall.
Now we're going to discuss Quebec City's tourist attractions. It has one of the most photographed hotels in the world and is widely known for its majestic skyline. This magnificent city has many tourist attractions like the Montmorency Falls, which is a large waterfall located on the heart of old Quebec City. There are also other attractions like the Plains of Abraham, where the Battle of 1759 took place, and the Hotel de la Glace, which is made entirely of ice and snow. It is one of the only two existing ice hotels in the world, with one being in Iceland and one being in Quebec City itself. This also benefits the economy of Quebec greatly as well.
Toronto is widely considered to be Canada's business and financial capital, with a rapidly expanding economy. Toronto's annual GDP can be as high as $304 billion, which contributes to about 20% of Canada's total GDP. Toronto also boasts the Toronto Stock Exchange, or TSX, which is the third largest stock exchange in the Americas. The metropolitan area of the GTA produces over half of Canada's manufactured products. On the other hand, Quebec has an annual GDP of $34.4 billion. Quebec's economy is mainly focused on public services, commerce, transport, and tourism. Some products produced in Quebec City include pulp and paper, processed food items, metal and wood items, chemicals, electronics, and electrical equipment. With its pleasant climate and its beautiful landscape, the Mixwood Plains is a very nice place to live in, and whether you like the hustle and bustle of a metropolitan city like Toronto, or the subtle quietness of a small town like Quebec City, the Mixwood Plains offers it all. With so many great qualities, it's no wonder the Mixwood Plains is home to about half the Canadian population.